Guys, today is the day we are going to start building the 1990 Kyosho USA-1 Madcrusher car crusher. Now what this thing is, this is a very scale replica of Everett Jasper's 1988 championship winning solid axle monster truck, and she is built on a Madforce chassis. Now, I do have an early Kyosho Madforce USA-1 here, but she is not very original. She's not very original at all. Now, this old gal is powered by a KE25 with a rotor start on it. She's got a 2-speed bell, but these things are single speed, and this thing is very rough. So today, we are going to build this kit. Now, this thing's a kit, so it doesn't include any electronics. It doesn't include an engine, but it does include the clutch pieces. It does include the exhaust system. And for engines, we might use this GXR 28, or we might actually use this KE25. Not 100% sure. Now, those that follow the channel know I bought this thing a couple of weeks ago on my daughter's 33rd birthday while at her birthday dinner, and I'll tell you what, I got this thing what I believe to be a pretty decent price, and she is very, very complete. And if that kit requires a cut crank, we might actually just steal this Force 21 out of this snowmobile, because this snowmobile is not going anywhere anytime soon. I can't seem to get a clutch for it because the clutch bell was missing out of the kit. And the guy from Art Attack, well, he called me back once and he'd send me one out, and he hasn't done anything in the last 2 months, and he won't respond to his text messages or his phone calls. Because these are spares for some of my other Kyoshos, I don't want to cut the cranks on these things. And for electronics, my standard recipe, 25 kg Amazon throttle brake servo, a fly sky, and a GX servo, high speed, high torque steering servo. So let's go and get this thing out the box and get everything organized. We're just going to lay all of our stickers and paperwork off to the side. And I had one of my viewers on the video on this thing tell me this thing is built off of a 1988 Burns buggy chassis. So kind of cool stuff because, well, I don't know. And you know the rules of the channel, guys. You don't know anything until you do. We got some bushings. We got to dig out some bearings for this thing, so we're not going to use the bearings. And the tires, I'm not sure these tires are going to be any good because that is a flat spot without a foam, and there's some bulging coming out of that stuff. But I do have another set of tires for this thing that we could actually use. So now we will play the reorganizing game, because I did just have this thing out of the box recently. We're just going to stack everything in this thing, number by number, in all the bags. So let me get all this stuff organized, guys. So the kit looks amazingly straightforward. You got bag 1, 2's hardware, 3's diffs, plastics. Bag 5 is a shock tower, bag 6 is a shock tower, bag 7 is going to be some supports for the spur gear, your clutch parts, your tank, and your engine mounts are bag 8, and bag 9 is all your plastic. Now the body is clear. We're gonna have to paint that. We'll get to that somewhere into this video. So the first step, shock assembly. Let's get cracking, guys. So guys, you ever built shocks? This is 36 years ago, and guess what? They haven't changed how these shocks are built. You're basically gonna assemble the shock shaft, put the piston on it, figure out which actual pistons you want on it, and put them together. There's 8 of these things, guys. So I'm gonna build these off camera. What you're gonna need is a shock tool, a pair of needle nose, and a pair of flush cutters. So step 1 was to take these little 3mm E-clips onto the shock shafts and put this little plastic piston in there, which is kind of cool. They give you, it's a tree with 5 different pistons, well actually 3 pistons and 2 spacers, and they're very specific about what piston to use. These shock bodies already have the O-rings installed in the body, so all we're going to do is kind of put a little drop of fluid in there to lube up that seal in the bottom, gently push the thing in, pull it down. We're going to go about maybe 1/3 the way up. Yeah, we're going to use this 36-year-old shock fluid, guys, because Kyosho gave it to us. We're going to use it. What we're going to do is we're going to push the piston up, pull it back down to get all the air out of it. Now there's going to be some air on there, and once again, guys, I forgot my shock stand at the house. So I'm going to do the right thing, and we're just going to stick it to our magnetic tool holder and let the air bleed out of it. All right, from there, get your shock cap, got your shock in, layer in a little hole, push her down in there, grab a shock diaphragm. This is where life's going to get a little messy. Once you're nice and squarely seated, it has to be square or it's going to leak. Not the easiest thing to get in there with. We're going to use a little bit of a screwdriver action here to get that upper seal in there. Alright, so we're nice and square on that. I'm gonna go grab a shock. We're gonna overfill it just a little bit. They've been sitting for probably a good 20 minutes. It's plastic, so it can be a little fiddly. Tighten it all the way down. Open it up, and I like to just kind of put it about halfway. Shock body done. Now from there, I'm gonna grab our shock pliers, grab our shock rod in, and get 8 of those things screwed on, which is always kind of fun because as I rotate my arm, my elbow has a very, very distinct pop to it. That sounds like a diesel truck starting up. I don't know if you guys could actually hear that. But let me go and get these buttoned up, and we'll get on to the next. Alright guys, from there's an adjuster collar. There's actually 2 pins on these shocks. You can set your ride height with this thing. So we're just going to go to the lowest setting for right now. Grab a spring. Grab a retainer. And just like that, gentlemen, we have shocks. Shocks are done, and I did figure something out pretty incredible about these things. If they give you extra E-clips, that means you're not going to lose any, and you don't go, Jesus, every time one goes flying across the shop. So the next thing is going to be doing the rear suspension arms and the rear bulkhead. And what they did is they gave us all of our hardware in one bag, so I'm just going to go ahead and just dump it all into this magnetic tray. And we will go through it little by little as we go through it. Because there's some sub bags in here, there's all kinds of good stuff, so I'm just going to empty all these bags and kind of make everything into a pile and how they're coming out of those bags. Alright guys, so I will be getting ahead of you on a lot of this because nobody's really interested in watching a 5-hour video, but so in an effort not to show you guys a 14-hour video, I went and got the entire rear suspension done, which is simply a matter of hinge pins, upper and lower control arms, the hubs, and the downer is we got to use the bushings because the bearings I ordered were 10 mil, these are 8 mil, so we're not going to beat this thing too hard. So I'm going to go ahead and put together the front bulkhead, and I'll get back with you. Alright, so our front entire bulkhead is done, from the shocks to the body mounts to the hubs. The rear's done with the shocks, the body mounts, and the hubs. So now we are going to move on to the center differential. And that one's going to be a little fiddly, a little bit of figuring out, but step 1 is going to be to super glue those brake pads to that brake disc. Well, I wouldn't call it brake pads, I call it friction material. So this should be fun. So we now have center differential and the disc brake on the chassis, and I went in and built this little goofy idler gear, which my other Madcrusher does not have, but also the Madcrusher is not correct at all. So let's go get this idler gear in there and meshed up and figure out where we're going to go from here. Well guys, I thought we were going to do is all this steering post linkage, but step 15 is engine preparation, and you're not going to believe this, but this GXR28, we were talking about cut cranks. Well, guess what? This crank's already cut, so this is going to be our engine of choice. So let me get this thing dressed up. We'll get this thing in there. All right, so this is turning into a little bit of a cluster. So I got the back bulkhead just hanging on by a couple screws because I needed to make this engine clear the pull start and make sure, because you've got this counter shaft right here. So I did get good mesh here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but we are clearing the input shaft, the pinion, by 2 millimeter. We're clearing the pull start. But the problem is, the header hits the pull starter. Now we could maybe cut this piece off and pull starter, just let it rub on it, but you got to hear me out for a second. So this is 1990, so this thing is a little bit too old to be doing anything as far as, you know, big block, anything bigger than a 21 and a pull start, and a lot of these things were still airplane engines. So last November we were up in we were up in Orlando. We were supposed to go to the Cash for RC swap meet, and I stopped at Graves Hobbies and I pretty much cleaned about a nitro engines. They gave me this little Force 21 for 80 bucks. It's an airplane engine by design, but when you look at it, it's really not. It is threaded shaft, it's got a clutch washer, and it's rear exhaust. So we won't be able to use the factory exhaust for this thing, but at least this motor will cure most of our issues. So let me pop this thing out, take out the 28, let's get this 21 in there, because I'm not going to be afraid to bump start this thing. It's not going to be terribly convenient, but you got to do what you got to do. All right, so she's in but our clutch bell is too far forward. It is hitting the counter shaft, so I got to figure out how to make that clutch nut thinner, either by using some type of a thinner clutch nut if I could find one, or a spacer. And I do have quite a few clutch nuts inside this box. Gentlemen, we are in. See, the fun part about this is you got this counter shaft. So your spur gear is driving this big gear, this little gear is driving your spur gear. So you've got dual mesh. So you're trying to get mesh here, and you got to get mesh on your clutch bell as well. And we have mesh on both. So the downer is we're not going to be able to use the factory manifold, but I believe I could probably take a pipe here, I'll cut it, and I'll use the factory rubber hose to the aluminum pipe so it looks original. And that red force engine, she's not ugly, I'll give her that. But how I moved the clutch bell back is I took some 1/4 inch washers. You know, it's a 6 mil shaft, 1/4 inch is 6.3 ID, and I just used that on the clutch washer and tightened everything up tight as it would go, and that thing ain't going nowhere. And I do know this front and rear bulkhead are not supposed to be on this thing yet per the instructions, but after fighting with that engine issue for the last 2 hours, I just wanted to see some progress on this thing. Uh-oh, I'm going off directions here, guys. I went and put the steering servo post in, I got the throttle servo in, and I got the rear tank mount in. So I'm going to finish up the steering linkage, and I'll get back to you. So I got my rear chassis brace in. A little confusing on the instructions. It kept looking like it was trying to go to that servo mount hole, but it did not. I got all my steering in. I got my bulkhead laying in by about 2 screws, and it seems to want to hit the front bulkhead, but I don't have anything tight. But I think once we get this upper plate in, which I've already put the steering servo in, but once the plate's in and we get these steering links, or the steering post where they're supposed to be, that should clean up. So next step is I'm going to finish up. I got to mount a power switch, I got to mount a battery to the bottom of this thing, and we can go and get this plate mounted to this plate, get everything up there, and we start working on linkages. So on the steering, on the instructions, it does not show these little servo horns as having 2 holes. So I put them in the outside holes, and it was actually hitting on the differential, and now we are nice and smooth. So we're going to go ahead and finish up this upper deck real quick. All right, so I got the electronics tray in here, and wire management is going to be an issue because we got a drive shaft going right through there. So I ran everything through the front hole. There is a hump pack on the bottom of this thing, and put a switch in her. So let's see if she works. We got good voltage, so I guess the next thing we need to worry about is going to have to be linkages. And this thing did not come with servo horns, so I got to go dig some up. But first, bound to fly sky. So steering linkage is pretty straightforward. I got my EPA set down way low, so we're not stressing. There's not much on this upper deck holding this steering servo, and it was binding up pretty good. So I'm gonna figure out the throttle linkage next, guys. All right, so not the most convenient place for the switch, but we are steering good, we are throttling good, and more importantly, let me get this back off. We have our wide open throttle, we got good close. I got my expo set, so let me button up this wiring. I'm gonna go ahead and put the wheelie bar on it, which on this thing is just it's a little metal hoop that goes on the back, and then we're gonna work on fuel system. Now the fuel tank is kind of interesting because I'm pretty sure this is just an airplane tank with a little, cap on it with a little rubber seal. But what they give you is a little rod and a grommet, and you've got a hole in the side of this thing, and you need to bend that rod to where it goes into that pickup hole on the bottom. So I'm going to do that off camera and see if I screw it up. Now on the fuel tank, it wound up being a no-go because this grommet that's got to push into the side of this tank so that this pickup can sit inside that little sump. Well, the grommet just fell apart because it's, well, 36 years old. So I did the universal thing. I put an RS4 tank in it and used the rear bracket, spun it around, put a little bridge, a little metal gap, little metal bracket to hold it in there, and she's not going anywhere. And there's just enough pressure on the bottom of this tank on this chassis to kind of hold that fuel line in, so it's not going to play the RS4 3 game where it's constantly spitting out its fuel line and losing all the fuel. But I vote we move on to exhaust. All right, so what I did with the exhaust, I just found the tightest fitting header I could find, so it'll actually slide right back in there, and then you're just going to assemble the exhaust. And the fun part about this is, I'm going to replace that gasket, is it has a restrictor built into it that you have to put in there first. So these 2 little holes is all the air you're going to flow in, it's all the air exhaust you're going to flow. Let me get that buttoned up, we'll see what it looks like. We are almost there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my screwdriver, and I'm going to go through every nut and bolt on this thing that is exposed, especially on the bottom. Then I'm going to go and set a bump box up for this thing, and then we are going to fire this thing up because she is almost ready. And then we'll talk about tires and body. All right, guys, it is now or never. Let's see what she actually wants to do. Make sure the throttle's closed. I went through pretty much everything on this truck to make sure we didn't have anything that might fall off because I didn't tighten it down. Not happy with the RS4 tank, but you know, what are you going to do? 36-year-old kit. Now, does the primer work? It should, because it was a new and packaged tank. All right, so we got some fuel in here. Let's see if she's going to fire up. Let's go and give her a little bit of throttle. I would say, how about yes, but it looks like we got to raise our base idle. We're just going to keep it up on the transmitter right now till this thing gets warmed up. Alright guys, I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to take this thing out back and put some tanks through it. Now while we are on the subject of break-in, we got to talk about our wheel and tire options, because obviously we are going to use these beautiful brand new wheels. Now on our tires, this guy looks pretty good, no issues. This guy looks pretty good, no real issues. This guy, when that bead is like that, remember these things do not have foams in them. When you've got this big dent in here, this tire I doubt's going to come back. We'll lay that one off to the side. This guy right here, when you get this kind of weird bulge and your bead gets stuck, you know, it's probably just heat from sitting for the last 36 years. But what I'm going to do is I have a couple of spare tires. They're in decent shape. They're a little dirty. I did wash them, but they're still a little bit on the dirty side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mount these things up, get them glued up, and get ready to get tires on the ground once we get our third tank through this monster. Alright guys, let's talk about tire gluing options. Now something I'm noticing on these tires, on the instructions, it just says put a couple drops of tire glue on these things, nothing major. They're actually calling it cement, but these tires are in fact pneumatic. In other words, the tires themselves are not vented and the wheels are not vented. So if you lose air, well guess what? You've got a collapsed tire. You get back in here without ripping his bead out, let the air back in. It seems to hold air pressure pretty good. Now I want to get a hold of J Concepts and Proline and see if they still make these big ass foams for these things, but for right now we're going to leave them unglued because if nothing else, if I can get the foams for them, we're going to foam these tires. But until then, we're just going to leave them just the way they are. We're on tank 2 out there right now. We're about halfway through, and then we're going to talk about body options. All right guys, so that would be enough for today's video. This is going to be a super long video the way it is, but listen, we got her built, we got her running, we got her broke in, she's on radio. So what do we have left to do? We're going to have to paint this body, and then we're going to get to run it, but that's going to be the next video. This body paint is going to be a little tricky. It's only 2 colors. It's going to have a black tonneau cover with a white body with a bunch of stickers, but we've also got the supercharger. I'm sorry, we've got the 3 Predators to put on there. I'll explain Predators when we do that video. We got the bumpers, we got the grill, we got the roll cage, we got the mirror. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this 36-year-old kit getting built, because there was no way in hell I was going to leave that thing in the box. That's not why I bought it. I bought it because I wanted to play with it. Listen guys, I appreciate your watch. Consider subscribing. And listen, I'll see you guys on the next one.